कोई बीच में डिस्टरबेंस ना करें. Professor Syed Ziaur Rahman Saab is working in the field of pharmacology for more than 2 decades with vast research experience in basic and clinical pharmacology at undergraduate and postgraduate level. As a scholar, he has to his credit 7 published books and more than 200 research papers in both national and international journals. He has been invited to deliver more than 100 lectures, both as a guest speaker and resource person in different national and international academic programs. He himself organized 3 international conferences and more than 20 national conferences. He earned his early education from Aligarh and MBBS and MD in pharmacology from Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh, and PhD from Western Sydney University, Australia. He is a member of various academic bodies in India as well as in abroad. He involved with members of 40 learned educational bodies, including International Medical Science Academy, National Academy of Medical Science, International Society of Pharmacovigilance, etc. He also served as a Deputy Medical Superintendent at Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College and Hospital, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh, and President of Non-Resident Student Center of Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. Under his supervision or co-supervision, 17 candidates have completed their PhD thesis. His vast contribution to the medical sciences, especially alternating to animal testing, traditional medicine, pharmacovigilance, medico-social services. He received various national and international awards, including Padma Ratna Award in 2017 healthcare category, N.N. Datta Prize 2004 of Indian Journal of Pharmacology, Junior Scientist Award 2006 of Safety Pharmacological Society. He is also recipient of APSN Fellowship and ASN Fellowship. It was the brief introduction of the Professor Syed Ziaur Rahman Saab. प्रोफेसर सैयद जियाउर रहमान साहब का ताल्लुक या इनकी वाबस्तगी यूनानी से भी है. प्रोफेसर सैयद जियाउर रहमान साहब के वालिद मोहतरम जनाब प्रोफेसर जिल्लुर रहमान साहब यूनानी दुनिया के एक बेताज बादशाह हैं. यूनानी दुनिया की एक बहुत बड़ी हस्ती है. शायद ही कोई ऐसा होगा जो यूनानी दुनिया में इनका नाम प्रोफेसर सैयद जिल्लुर रहमान साहब का नाम नहीं जानता होगा. ये प्रोफेसर सैयद जिल्लुर रहमान साहब भारत सरकार से पद्मश्री के अवार्ड से भी पद्मश्री का अवार्ड भी इनको दिया गया है. तो प्रोफेसर जियाउर रहमान साहब का यूनानी दुनिया से बहुत शुरू से ही गहरा ताल्लुक है. और हम लोग जब अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी में जेर तालीम थे तो जब भी इनको फैकल्टी ऑफ यूनानी मेडिसिन में जब भी किसी लेक्चर के लिए किसी भी चीज के लिए बुलाया जाता तो फौरन सर हाजिर हो जाते थे. तो सर का यूनानी दुनिया से या फिर ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन में भी इनका बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन है. तो ये उनका ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन था. अब मैं अपने वाइस प्रिंसिपल प्रोफेसर तबरेज अहमद लारी साहब को हमारे गेस्ट स्पीकर के खैर मकदम के लिए उनके इस्तकबाल के लिए मैं अब डाइज प्रोफेसर तबरेज अहमद लारी साहब को दे रहा हूँ.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू. सबसे पहले तो मैं इस टीचिंग फोरम में अपने स्पीकर गेस्ट स्पीकर का मकदम करना चाहता हूँ. और स्टूडेंट जो है गेस्ट स्पीकर के बारे में हमारे कलीग ने डिटेल्स में तो नहीं लेकिन एक जामे जो है इंट्रोडक्शन करा दिया है, जिससे कि आप लोग ये समझ सकते हैं कि ये शायद जो है हमारे फोरम के लिए बहुत हायर स्केल पे हैं. तो इनके स्टूडेंट से मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि सर चूँकि 22 साल का टीचिंग एक्सपीरियंस है, इज द इंटरनेशनल जो है रिसर्च स्कॉलर इन फार्माकोलॉजी जो है, नॉट ओनली इन द फार्माकोलॉजी जो है, he has a background to the Unani, not the education you have, but the Unani skill सेंटर जो कि दुनिया का सबसे पहला जो है प्राइवेट लेवल पे रिसर्च सेंटर है इब्न सीना एकेडमी, जिसके इनके फादर प्रोफेसर हमारे उस्ताद प्रोफेसर जिल्लुर रहमान साहब है, फाउंडर है। और प्रोफेसर जिल्लुर रहमान साहब के बारे में बहुत सारे लोग जानते हैं। मैं इनकी थोड़ी सी बात ये बता दूं कि जहाँ तक मेरी 30-35 साल की जो टीचिंग एक्सपीरियंस है, मैंने पहली बार किसी शख्स को देखा कि यूनानी सिस्टम में मॉडर्न टूल्स का इस्तेमाल करना सबसे पहले जिल्लुर रहमान साहब ने इंट्रोड्यूस किया। आज भी उनके जो लैब्स हैं आप देख सकते हो, रेनाइंस फार्माकोलॉजी लैब्स है। तो इस लैब्स के इस्टेब्लिशमेंट में, इस लैब्स के उसमें इनका बहुत ज़्यादा रोल रहा है और लगातार ये यूनानी से टच में रहे हैं, जैसे कि आपने बताया। मैं फिर एक बार रहमान साहब का मैं वेलकम करता हूँ और मैं उनसे रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा, मैं इस माजरत के साथ वेलकम करता हूँ कि आपको वेट करना पड़ा, थोड़ा टाइम शेड्यूल मेरा आगे चल रहा है और बच्चों की क्वेरी ऐसी है, नए बच्चे हैं, थोड़ा ऑर्गेनाइज नहीं है। नेचुरल सी बात है, उनका बिहार जो है एक अपने बच्चे जैसे आपका ग्रोइंग बच्चा पहली बार स्कूल से लौट के आता है तो बहुत सारे सवाल पूछता है कि कॉलेज कैसा होता है, गेट कैसा होता है, लैब कैसा होता है, फील्ड कैसा होता है, लाइक दैट। ये भी मेरे बच्चे हैं, अभी पहली बार जो है कॉलेज में आए हैं, इसलिए कुछ जो है अनयूजुअल सवाल भी पूछ सकते हैं, अनयूजुअल बिहेव भी कर सकते हैं। हम आप पहले ही इनसे माजरत कर लेना चाहते हैं और आपसे एक रिक्वेस्ट है कि जो भी आप लेक्चर देंगे थोड़ा सा बच्चों का ख्याल रखेंगे और अगर थोड़ा सा मॉडर्न जो है यूनानी का क्या लिंक है and how they can what is the link of the modern system of medicine you have with the Unani system of the medicine, and how can we jointly work in the Unani system of medicine you have with the help of the allopathic system. अगर इस पे थोड़ा सा भी, हालांकि लेक्चर का आपका सब्जेक्ट दूसरा है, आई एग्रीड विद यू कि मैंने आपको दूसरे सब्जेक्ट के लिए कॉल अप किया था, लेकिन इत्तेफाक से अपॉर्चुनिटी ऐसा है, माहौल बना हुआ है, इसलिए आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे थोड़ा सा 10-15 मिनट टाइम निकाल के इस चैप्टर पे बात करने की कोशिश करेंगे और ताकि हम लोग भी कुछ आपके लेक्चर से फ़ायदा उठा सकें। थैंक्स सर, जो है आपको बहुत टाइम दे चुके हैं पहले। हाँ सर, आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि अपनी लेक्चर्स को आप शुरू करें प्लीज़।
जी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया तबरेज़ अख्तर लारी साहब फॉर वेलकमिंग मी, एंड डॉक्टर मोहम्मद निज़ामुद्दीन साहब, जिसके बारे में मुझे मालूम नहीं था कि शायद वो पटना चले गए, गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज ज्वाइन कर लिया, वरना यहाँ अलीगढ़ इधर कॉलेज में थे और मुझसे मिलते रहते थे। उसके साथ साथ जो है मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ प्रिंसिपल साहब का, ज़ियाउद्दीन साहब का, और तनवीर आलम साहब का, और नफीस इकबाल साहब का, कि उन्होंने मुझे मदऊ किया। और बहुत खुशी हुई कि यूनानी फर्स्ट बैच के स्टूडेंट्स के लिए ट्रांसलेशनल प्रोग्राम CCIM ने स्टार्ट किया है, और ये उसी तरह से है जिस तरह से MBBS स्टूडेंट के लिए जो फाउंडेशन कोर्स स्टार्ट किया है 1 महीना के लिए, तो शायद ये भी उसी की कड़ी है कि सेंट्रल काउंसिल ऑफ इंडियन मेडिसिन ने भी ट्रांसलेशनल करिकुलम के लिए स्टूडेंट्स को अवेयरनेस और उनको ये बताने के लिए कि एक तरीके से सेंसिटाइजेशन और इंट्रोडक्शन दूसरे सब्जेक्ट्स पे भी ज़रूरी है कि फर्स्ट ईयर के स्टूडेंट्स जो हैं शुरू से ही वाकिफ़ हो सकें कि हम लोग क्या करने जा रहे हैं और क्या हमारा फ्यूचर है। तो मुझे जो टॉपिक अलॉट किया गया है, तो मैं कुछ वो अपनी स्लाइड शेयर कर सकता हूँ?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's better if I share my presentation. It's all select window, screen, allow. So can you see my presentation? It's shared?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
good. So मुझे जो टॉपिक दिया गया है वो ये है कि इंट्रोडक्शन टू मॉडर्न मेडिसिन एंड अदर सिस्टम्स ऑफ मेडिसिन। तो मेरा इंट्रोडक्शन ऑलरेडी हो चुका है। आई एम वर्किंग इन द डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ फार्माकोलॉजी एट अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी। सो यू ऑल नो अबाउट द मॉडर्न मेडिसिन, और अभी अशरफ कदीर साहब भी बता रहे थे कि यूनानी के पर्सपेक्टिव में और मॉडर्न मेडिसिन के पर्सपेक्टिव में कुछ शेयर कर रहे थे, और ये भी बताने की कोशिश की कि मॉडर्न मेडिसिन जो है कंपैरेटिव टू यूनानी मेडिसिन काफ़ी नई चीज़ है। तो मैं उसमें ये कहना चाहूँगा कि वाकई मॉडर्न मेडिसिन जो है इट्स अ वेरी न्यू कंसेप्ट and it was started just after the Industrial Revolution in 18th century. So when Industrial Revolution came in the Western Europe and USA, there was a lot of rapid growth in the economic activity. So business point of view से जो Industrial Revolution start किया गया था, तो जो changes आए और वो changes जो है 19th century में ज़्यादा मरतब हुए, जिसमें हमने देखा कि economic और industrial growth ज़्यादा हुई, और उसकी वजह से जो है कुछ साइंटिफिक डिस्कवरीज और इन्वेंशंस हुई, जिसके बेसिस पे मॉडर्न मेडिसिन एक खड़ा हुआ है. तो अशरफ खलील साहब की बात बिल्कुल सही थी कि जितने भी साइंटिफिक इन्वेंशंस और डिस्कवरीज हुई हैं उसको मॉडर्न मेडिसिन से जोड़ दिया गया और मॉडर्न मेडिसिन का पार्ट बना दिया गया. उसको हम लोग यूनानी मेडिसिन से भी कोरिलेट कर सकते थे, लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेटली मॉडर्न मेडिसिन ने उसको क्लेम किया. शायद उसका रीज़न ये था कि जब ये इंडस्ट्रियल रिवोल्यूशन और ये जो प्रोग्रेस हो रही थी, तो उस वक्त यूनानी स्कॉलर्स जो थे इस तरफ बिल्कुल ख्याल नहीं करते थे, और जो उनकी बेसिक प्रिंसिपल्स थी और थ्योरीज थी उस पर ज़्यादा वो यानी जुड़े रहते थे और इस तरफ ज़्यादा तवज्जो नहीं की. तो जो साइंटिस्ट ने जो प्रोग्रेस की है वो ज़्यादातर जो है उनकी कोशिश होती थी कि इन आइडेंटिफाइंग एंड प्रिवेंटिंग द इलनेसेस एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग हाउ बैक्टीरिया एंड वायरसेस वर्क. तो मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था कि मॉडर्न मेडिसिन की जो बेसिक यानी डेवलपमेंट है जिसको मॉडर्न मेडिसिन कहा गया, उसमें अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द बैक्टीरिया एंड वायरसेस as well as the discoveries and inventions which has been done. So modern medicine mein still there is a concept that this is not a complete system of medicine. So all the scientists and physicians, they say that there is a long way to go regarding the treatment and cures of the infectious diseases. With this diagram, you can see that in the 19th century, after the Industrial Revolution, which came in 18th century, the lifestyle was changed, and there were many industries and pharmaceutical companies and other companies which led to the change in the lifestyle of human being. So जैसे आप यहाँ डायग्राम में देख सकते हैं कि एक जगह पर workers were allowed to work in a closed environment, and this change in the lifestyle led to the risk of infectious diseases and other conditions. So the main problem is after the Industrial Revolution was a change in the lifestyle, which you can see that in industries there was many machines came into existence. So these machines were all mechanized and led to the work-related diseases. For example, lung disease, dermatitis, pussy jaw, which was seen in the factories where people were working with phosphorus. फॉस्फोरस जो है वो माचिस की इंडस्ट्री में बहुत कॉमन है, और फॉस्फोरस की वजह से जो है जॉ नेक्रोसिस देखा गया. तो पॉइंट ये है कि इंडस्ट्रीज की वजह से, तो कुछ एक एग्जांपल्स है, वरना द होल ऑक्यूपेशनल डिजीज इज अ चैप्टर which is because of the industry development. Second reason है urbanization. You all know that people have started living in cities, and this also led to the deforestation and change in the ecology. And because of this change in ecology, many new problems came into existence like typhus, cholera. So people started focusing on these infectious diseases and the problems which occur because of the urbanization. Third point is because of the air flights, and people started traveling more, and this also led to the transfer of diseases like yellow fever, which was common in African countries, but it's found in many other countries, especially USA and Europe. So this is also because of the travel. Then the second reason which I focus is all about the scientific breakthroughs. As I said, the modern medicine is based on two main principles, which one is the principle of the germ theory, like infectious, and we all know why infectious diseases occur because of the urbanization and travel and these things. So germ theory जो है that led to the improvement in the principles of hygiene, and concept like asepsis, antisepsis, and disinfection in treating the wounds. And germ theory के बाद this also led to the discovery of antibiotics and disinfectant agents. फिर उसके बाद the 19th and 20th century में we saw lots of scientific inventions and discoveries which strengthened the modern system of medicine. उसके बाद 19th and 20th century में communication काफी बढ़ा, we are now living in a digital world where communication is more fast and improved. So medical knowledge can also spread rapidly. So wherever there is any discovery of inventions, areas far from that discovered areas can also take the advantage. And then political change is very important, especially in the European countries and America, where after the aristocracy, democracy came into existence, and in the democracy, people have started demanding health as a human right. Earlier, only the aristocratic families and the royal families, they had the privilege of taking the medicines and cure of the diseases. तो गरीब का कोई उसमें कोई चारा नहीं था. So political changes also led to the advances in the modern medicine. So germ theory जो है, although Louis Pasteur and other scientists, they worked on germ theory, but it was Robert Koch who postulates 4 main points and give the basis of the germ theory. And he said among the 4 points, microorganisms must be found in abundance. We all know that there are commensals bacteria in the human body, लेकिन commensals bacteria जो हमारी body में है, they are very useful and help in the metabolism and the survival of the human body. But whenever this the growth and the number of microorganisms is large in number, this led to the suffering from diseases. And this increased number of microorganisms should not be found in healthy organisms, only in the diseased patient. When these microorganisms are isolated from the diseased organism and grown and can show the growth in the culture. So this is the second point. And Robert Koch also said that if these cultured microorganisms are introduced into healthy organisms, then this led to the disease. So microorganisms must be re-isolated from inoculated disease experimental host and identified as being identical to original specific causative agent. So it's a part of the experiment also, and the basis of the germ theory to वो germs जो diseases पैदा कर सकें और उन germs को अगर हम grow कर सकें और वही germs फिर उसके बाद same disease को पैदा कर सकें. So this is the basis of the germ theory which postulated by the Robert Koch. Then after this theory and postulation by Robert Koch and other scientists, this was found that there was breakthrough in the infection control. जैसा कि देखा हमने कि 19th and 20th century में because of the change in the lifestyle, there was a problem of infection, and in the end of 19th century, it was found that 30% of the death were due to infection. और ये जब germ theory और उसके बाद antibiotics की discovery के बाद by the end of 20th century, it was found that a figure led to less than 4%, say 4% death ही हुई because of the infection. So these antibiotics played a significant role, and this is the strength of the modern medicine or the beauty of the modern medicine. So these are some discoveries, although this should be a part of other systems of medicine. But as I said, in the 19th century, most of the discoveries, they became the part of the modern medicine. For example, we all see that there was a discovery of anesthetic properties of nitrous oxide. Then there was a discovery of stethoscope, which played in the diagnosis of chest infection and in the calculation of heart rate and everything. Then blood transfusions came into existence. There was an obstetrician who saw that there was a large blood loss, hemorrhage, and in the blood loss, there was successful blood transfusion. Then you can see inhaled ether anesthesia for surgical procedures. So first it was the anesthetic property or the nitrous oxide, and people realized that anesthesia can be given through the inhalational form. Then there was a problem of the death after the delivery, which was very significant. And the scientists, they realized that before any birth, doctors should disinfect their hands and clean hands. This will lead to the decrease in the puerperal fever. Then Joseph Lister discovered phenol, which helps in the sterilization and disinfection to clean wounds and surgical instruments. Then this germ theory leads to the discovery of vaccines. For example, Pasteur discovered vaccines against chickenpox and cholera, and sex vaccine, then vaccines to prevent rabies. Then other scientists found that sera in the blood, they have some antitoxins which may play a role in the development of vaccines like diphtheria and tetanus. Then the discovery of X-rays, then discovery of aspirin by the Bayer company from Germany, which they derived from the salicin, the active principle of the Meadow sweet plant. So these discoveries and other, like for example, the discovery of the blood, different blood types, and then the classification of these blood types in the blood group, then discovery of presenile dementia helps in the Alzheimer's disease. Aloy Alzheimer identified as presenile dementia, discovery of electrocardiogram, discovery of the vitamins and the deficiency of vitamins, which was found to be cause of scurvy and rickets and other vitamin deficiency diseases. Then Paul Ehrlich, the German scientist who is also known as the father of chemotherapy, he developed chemotherapy. The first time he showed that chemicals can be used in controlling infection. For example, he discovered salvarsan for syphilitic diseases. And then insulin was discovered, then vaccines for DPT and TB, then penicillin. So you can see that lots of discoveries and inventions were there in the 20th and 19th century, like electro encephalography, then the drug Frontosil, which was developed to cure streptococcal infections. All these problems were there. As I said, the factors responsible for all these things. Then vaccine for yellow fever. Then later scientists, they discovered dialysis machine, and the same scientists also pioneered artificial organs. Gilman Goodman, the famous pharmacologist, they developed some drugs which was useful for in cancer. They found the drugs can also help in leukemia. Then scientists discovered paracetamol. So most of these drugs, they are derived from the medicinal plants, which is earlier used by the Unani scholars. Then you can see that oral and intravenous rehydration solution. So because of the sepsis and asepsis concept, the drugs were started giving through intravenous route. Earlier, all the Unani scholars, they were giving the drugs through mainly the antral route like oral or the rectum or the local application. But intravenous route of administration started came into existence. So first time they used rehydration solution intravenously, and they also created first electrolyte glucose. Similarly, you must have heard Salk discovered polio vaccine. Then later, many advanced discoveries came into existence. For example, invention of heart-lung machine, and they started open heart surgery, repairing atrial septal defect. Earlier, all the Unani scholars and others physicians, they were aware about the hole in the heart, which is in modern medicine is the repairing the or the atrial septal defect. And then invention of ultrasonography, including the echocardiography, which helps in the diagnosis of many heart diseases. Then more advanced discoveries like human kidney transplant, implantable pacemakers in the heart. Then other scientists, they discovered the concept of in vitro fertilization, And with this in vitro fertilization, they led to the first discovery of test tube baby and also the development of combined oral contraceptive pills, which was approved by the FDA in 1960. Then scientists in USA developed technique for the cardioprotective resuscitation, which helps in the resuscitation of the already dying person. Then Sir James Black, who was the famous pharmacologist, he invented first beta blocker propanol, and earlier he showed how adrenaline affects the functioning of human heart, and this propanol blocks the action of adrenaline and could be used in the various heart diseases. Similarly, cimetidine, the H1 blocker, which is used in allergy, or other H1, but H2 blocker like cimetidine can be used in stomach ulcers. Then human liver transplant, human lung transplant. So these discoveries, they led to the advancement of the modern medicine. Now the era came where more and more drugs were discovered like diazepam, chlordiazepoxide, trimethoprim, clonazepam, flurazepam, and you can imagine most of the drugs they are tried from medicinal plants or biotechnologically or from the animal source or from the mineral source, but they were all came under the umbrella of the modern medicine. Then measles vaccines, then rubella vaccines, then human pancreas transplant, and the use of prosthesis, then techniques for cardiothoracic surgery were improved. Then Christian Barnard, which we learned in the school classes, that was the first person who did human to human heart transplant. And then you can see mumps vaccines came, and after that, now we have vaccines of almost all the diseases like influenza, and recently we have vaccine for COVID-19. So in the 20th century, more and more advancement came, like with the immunosuppressive drugs came into existence, which helps in the organ transplant procedure, because whenever we do organ transplantation, body tries to or not try not to accept this new organ, which is the failure of the organ transplant. So to avoid failure of organ transplant, we use immunosuppressive drugs like cyclosporine, and this is also used to treat psoriasis, rheumatoid, and in the organ transplantation. Then magnetic resonance imaging also helps in the radio diagnosis, and the computed tomography or CT scan machines, they also helped in the advancement of science. Then the antiviral medications, like especially after the HIV, they found drugs like azithromycin, which helps in the control of the HIV patient or AIDS patient. Then other scientists, they also developed the diagnostic tool for diagnosis of hepatitis B, and human heart lung combined transplant. Earlier there was exceptional heart transplantation or lung transplantation, but this scientist Bruce, he performed first human heart lung combined transplant procedure. So all these breakthroughs, they became the part of modern medicine. Then the polymerase chain reaction, which we all are now familiar with the COVID-19, like RT-PCR is used in the making the diagnosis of the COVID-19 virus also. Then DNA fingerprinting and DNA profiling also came into existence, which helps in forensic medicine and helps in the paternity disputes and any other areas. Then discovery of the drugs for depression, like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, for example, fluoxetine. Discovery of statins to lower the lipid hyperlipidemia, and which indirectly helps in reducing the risk of heart diseases and stroke. Then in 1998, you can see that human embryonic stem cell line was found to be useful in creating many genetic diseases. So that was the discoveries in the 20th century, but even in 21st century, we are observing many more discoveries, which is going to the credit of modern medicine. For example, now we have the Complete Human Genome Project, which is helping in the gene therapy and in preventing the genetically based diseases. So it's a very good project which is now complete. Then first bioartificial liver. So artificially we can create livers and which helps in the transplantation and other techniques to enable damaged liver to renew itself. Then recently, we saw that scientists and physicians, they carried out partial face transplant and full face transplant. So these are the discoveries and part of the modern medicine. Like apart from the germ theory and the discovery of all these things, newer and newer concept is also coming into existence, which is the like for example targeted cancer therapy. Earlier, the cancer drugs were given, which goes to the body and affects the many growing and cells and has some adverse effect. But new class of drugs called biologics, they are now being used to treat the cancers. And unlike the conventional chemotherapy, they destroy only the conventional therapy, which earlier destroy fast-growing healthy cells, and now this targeted cancer therapy helps in reducing the or minimizing the destruction of fast-growing healthy cells. Then we all know that HIV treatment is very effective. We have lots of antiretroviral drugs which helps in maintaining the virus load almost zero. Then stem cell therapy, which is now more important after the Human Genome Project, which helps in making the human tissue and even whole organs from the stem cell. From the stem cells, we can make tissues, we can make the whole organs, and this would help in many disease conditions. Also from means from the like very basic things like wound healing to prosthetics and replacement livers. This also can be happen through stem cell therapy. Then gene therapy again helps in prevention of genetic and inherited conditions. For example, there are many inherited heart diseases, leukemia, especially cystic fibrosis and hemophilia. Like for example, with the G6PD deficiency, there is a problem of hemophilia. So we can treat these genes through gene therapy. So these are the advancement of the modern medicine, and as I said, uh, uh, strengthening the modern medicine. Other areas like robotics. Robots are used in especially in surgeries, and I'm fortunate that even in Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College, surgeons have started working on robotic surgery. This led to the controlled tools, and surgeons may carry all operations by controlling movement, and there is a less chance of the human error or the surgical error, so it leads to the greater precision in operation. Then the special drones are used especially by many medical companies. uh, these drones are helpful to deliver medicines to remote areas of the world, especially in African countries, and especially in supplying the essential medicine which should be available to the primary health centers. So medicines usually are available in the tertiary care hospital, but they all should be available in the primary health centers and in the remote areas. So these drones are also being used. But after all these discoveries and the modern medicine also have some challenges. Like, for example, we have started using these antibiotics very inappropriately, and overuse of antibiotics or irrational use of antibiotics led to the resistance in the germs and pathogens. So, because nowadays very few antibiotics came into existence, and most of the pharmaceutical companies have stopped discovering the antibiotics. So the available antibiotics are having a resistance problem. So this is the challenge for the modern medicine, how to survive with the antibiotic, especially because their main foundation is the germ theory. So if this is failed, then there will be difficulty for the modern medicine. Then after the especially in the 21st century, there is again rise in the infection, and we predict that in future centuries there will be a number of rise in the infection when there will be no availability of antibiotics. Then, as Ashok Adisa was saying, that increase in pollution and environmental hazards, so increase in pollution because of the industrial revolution, because of the urbanization, and this led to the hazards to the environment, change in the ecology, and we are throwing our medicines and the radioactive substances into the environment, which is the part of bio-waste material, and these bio-waste material pose a great threat to the terrestrial environment, to the aquatic environment, and whatever drugs we consume at therapeutic doses, and these drugs which are entering into the environment from our body, like for example through our urine, through our feces, these some of the drugs, the modern drugs, they persist in the environment. Some drugs persist because these drugs, most of the drugs are not biodegradable, they are not environment friendly, they persist in the environment. They sometimes some drugs persist in the environment for a week, some drugs persist in the environment for a month, some drugs persist in the environment for a year. So imagine if a drug persists in the environment for a year, it will pose harm to the both aquatic and in the terrestrial environment. For example, we saw that there is effeminization of male fish. We have already seen that extinction of vultures because of the diclofenac. So all these drugs, they may pose harm to the environment. So now people have started, and it's also a challenge to work on reverse pharmacology, which is a concept to find a newer drug from the traditional system of medicine, like reverse, which is called as a part of reverse pharmacology. Now, as a part of reverse pharmacology, as I was asked also to say something in addition to modern medicine, the other system of medicine. So, phytotherapy is a part which you all know that phyto means the medicine or plant, and the therapy is the administration of drugs. So, administration of drugs in the form of plants, which we call the natural therapies because they are not synthetic, they are not biotechnologically driven. So these are natural, and we are very excited if we all discuss about the nature, and we say that nature, the all drugs should be close to the nature, and nature in totality, the expression of a universal harmony and equilibrium. And if there is any disturbance in this harmony and equilibrium, this led to the rupture of the numerous ill effects. So, in Unani medicine, basically the whole plant is used as a like roots or leaves or the bark. But in modern medicine, they try to extract not only the extract but extraction of the or the synthesis of phytochemicals. So, our universe is very rich in the herbs, flora, and fauna. And it is said that 15% of the estimated plant species on Earth have been investigated for possible medicinal uses. And WHO also says that, and we all know that 80% of the population, they depends on the traditional medicine, especially phytotherapy, to treat common ailments. So traditional healers, they are the good resources for scientific based research. If any scholar from the Unani or allopathy, they want to work or to do research, so traditional healers are the most important resource person. If we see the in the modern concept, like for example, medicinal herbs, they all contribute, especially to fight against viral infection. Like in COVID-19, many medicinal herbs are being tried, and it is said that all these phytochemicals and the ingredients from the medicinal plant, usually help in the enhancement of the immunity. And in Unani system of medicine, if it's said that if your immunity is strong, then there are least chances of infection. So the second part is the phytochemicals. So all these medicinal plants, herbs, fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, they have certain ingredients which help in to fight the number of diseases, including cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, etc. So, in if we see naturally, all these phytochemicals, although they help in reducing the risk of number of diseases, but they are available in the plants and they give colors to the fruits or vegetables, flavor, and also to fight against the natural diseases. So these are some phytochemicals like among the alkaloids, there are the camptothecin, theobromine, and berberine. So these this part now is not does not come under the Unani system of medicine. This part comes under phytopharmaceutical. So in Unani medicine, we usually use the whole plant and the extract. जब हम फाइटोकेमिकल्स पे आ जाते हैं और फाइटो फार्मास्यूटिकल इंग्रेडिएंट्स में आ जाते हैं, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल इन फाइटोस्टेरॉल, जिसमें बीटा स्टेरोस्टेरॉल और डायोस्जेनिन, इस तरह से आप पॉलीफिनॉल्स में देखें, देयर आर मेनी एग्जांपल्स ऑफ पॉलीफिनॉल्स एंड टेरपेनॉइड्स में बहुत सारे एग्जांपल्स. So this comes under phyto pharmaceutical ingredient. So all modern practitioners, they took advantage of the Unani system of medicine or Ayurveda system of medicine. For example, in Europe, Ernest Krebs, he noticed that lometium, which is basically used by Unani scholars, they have some efficacy, especially in the viral diseases, especially in the chronic fatigue syndrome. So he used this lometium, and later he found that there are some phytochemicals and which helps in the treatment of the chronic fatigue syndrome, which is not accepted in the orthodox treatment. So phytopharmaceutical ingredients is a new concept, and Indian government, they have defined phytopharmaceutical, and recently the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, they are now preparing phytopharmaceutical ingredients, and they are asking and giving uh, some hint to work on the medicinal properties, to find medicinal properties of these phytopharmaceutical ingredients, and this may help. तो phytopharmaceutical ingredients जो है वो बीच का part है. It is neither a part of Unani system of medicine nor a part of modern medicine. तो phytopharmaceutical ingredients जो हैं वो ना यूनानी का part है ना जो है modern medicine का part है. लेकिन if they show some evidence and after some standardization and scientific information, then it may become a part of the allopathy system of medicine. So this is a good research area to connect the traditional system of medicine with the modern system of medicine. So modern medicine practitioners, whenever they found that because you know that 80% of the population, they are using the herbs and the old materia medica. Materia medica are the substances which are materia medica, material which is useful in or used in medicine. So materia medica is Italic or Latin word, and so you know that 80% of the population use the herbs materia medica. So they are not the part of the modern medicine. So modern practitioners, they are very concerned about the use of herbal medicine. They are concerned because these drugs may have an interaction with the modern medicine, and sometimes these interactions may be fatal and harmful. So that's why they are concerned, and we don't know how many people are dying and because of the medicines from the herb, or using the medicinal herb along with the modern medicine. For example, you know that in Africa, where African medicine is very popular, and AIDS patients were mostly found in African countries. So they didn't have the drugs from the modern medicine. So you can imagine that in AIDS they use many herbs as medication, and these herbs may probably help in strengthening their immune system. So modern practitioners, they are concerned about the use of herbs in the modern medicine. That's why the concept of herbal pharmacovigilance came into existence, because earlier the Unani scholars and the traditional practitioners, they used to say that drugs are safe, they are devoid of any adverse events, and they are very close to nature. They can't produce any adverse effect, but uh, but the quality and the use of herbs with modern medicine, they may pose adverse reactions. That's why the concept of herbal pharmacovigilance came into existence, and now Government of India has a program which is the pharmacovigilance program for Ayurveda, Siddha, and Unani drugs. Then let's discuss about something about the complementary and alternative medicine. The students, especially the young generation, those who are attending this session, they must know that the concept of complementary and alternative medicine. Complementary का मतलब है जो complete करे किसी system को. Complementary यहाँ पे e लगा हुआ है, complementary. So this complementary medicine used together with conventional medicine. So this complementary medicine complete the conventional medicine, and alternative medicine used in place of conventional medicine. When conventional medicine or the modern medicine is not available, then we can shift to alternative medicine. But complementary medicine is something which complete the we may say that the modern medicine is incomplete without the other system of medicine, which is a part of complementary medicine. So this is a complementary alternative medicine concept which was given by WHO, and we should be aware about this concept. Now, if we see this complementary and alternative medicine, they are divided into 5 domains. So I think it's very important for young generation to know that alternative medical system, which is the part of the alternative medicine. Can you see my slides? Hello?
No, sir.
My slides are visible?
No, sir.
No? It's not visible?
No.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
It's visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, visual, sir.
So I was saying that, okay, fine. Then I can move. So I was saying that there is a difference in complementary and alternative medicine. Alternative medicines are like, so these alternative medicines, they are different from the modern medicine. These alternative medicine, they have different concepts, they have different principles, they have different theories. And this should not be, these are not complementary medicine. For example, Unani system of medicine, Ayurveda, Siddha, Sowa Rigpa, and which is more common in the northern part, especially in Ladakh areas. The practitioners, they are known as Amchis. For example, Ayurveda practitioners, they are known as Ved. Chinese traditional medicine, Native American, Aboriginal medicine, which is more common in Australian countries. And the practitioners of Aboriginal medicine, they are known as Nankaris. And similarly, African, Middle Eastern, Tibetan, naturopathy, homeopathy. Then the mind-body intervention. There are systems which play a role in the intervention of mind-body. Like, for example, the cognitive behavioral approaches. Meditation is a part of medicine. Hypnosis is a part. Dance therapy, music therapy, which is very important in the auxiliary therapy, especially in the terminally ill patient. Music therapy play a role in consoling a patient. Art therapy, prayer, Dr. Shakati was saying very important. Slide is not visible?
No, sir, no, sir, not visible.
Okay, let me just correct. Just a minute. So actually, let me see what happened.
आलम का presentation भी शो कर रहा है सर.
हाँ?
नैयर आलम का presentation शो कर रहा है.
नकीब देखो प्रेजेंटेड में नैयर आलम ने तो प्रेस नहीं कर दिया है.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. So अब स्लाइड दिखाई दे रही है?
नहीं नहीं सर,
अच्छा.
अभी नहीं दिखाई दे रहा.
Sure है sir.
नहीं दिखाई दे रहा?
स्लाइड
sir,
नहीं
yes,
दिख
sir.
रहा है.
स्लाइड दिख रहा
दिखाई दे
Yes,
रहा
sir.
है sir.
अच्छा ठीक है, वेरी गुड. अच्छा तो मैं ये कह रहा था कि ऑल्टरनेटिव मेडिसिन, फिर माइंड बॉडी इंटरवेंशन, जिसमें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें मैंने आपको बताई. फिर उसके बाद बायोलॉजिकल बेस्ड थेरेपीज. Biological based therapies includes the supplement. Orthomolecular experts are there. Orthomolecular practitioners, they used to give the micronutrients in the form of magnesium, melatonin, and the mega doses of vitamins. And they say that micronutrients help in the preservation of our body. So the balance of vitamins and the trace elements should be in normal condition. So they try to cure the diseases in maintaining all these micronutrients. Then individual biological therapies, especially shark cartilage, even in Unani system of medicine, there's a concept of the organ therapy. So this also comes under the biological therapy. Then manipulative and body based method, जहाँ पे कुछ manipulation होता है, जैसे chiropractic. they chiropractic कहते हैं जिसमें कि कोई ऐसी टेक्निक जैसे कि अगर फ्रैक्चर हो गया तो हम कैसे उसको हड्डी को जोड़ें, और तो वो कायरोप्रैक्टिस है. इसी तरह से ऑस्टियोपैथिक मैनिपुलेशन, मसाज, जहाँ भी कुछ मैनिपुलेशन चाहिए होगा तो दिस कम्स अंडर मैनिपुलेटिव एंड बॉडी बेस्ड मेथड. लास्ट इज एनर्जी थेरेपीज. तो ये जो प्रैक्टिशनर्स हैं एनर्जी थेरेपीज के, they always say that it's the energy which is very important in the body. For example, ki therapy, which is common in the Japan and other areas of China. Reiki system, therapeutic touch. बहुत सारे जो हैं especially priest, they used to touch and help that simple touch help in the therapy. Then bioelectromagnetic based therapies like pulsed fields, magnetic fields. Magnets are also used, alternating current or direct current fields. So these are the 5 areas where you can see there are many examples of complementary and alternative medicine, and they all are recognized by WHO. Then now, as I said, doctors are very concerned about the complementary alternative medicine, because physicians, they do not tell their physicians about the use of complementary medicine. And in a study, 60% of the people, they responded that my doctor never asked if I am taking the complementary alternative medicine. Similarly, 60% said it was not important for my doctor to know, and my doctor usually does not understand all these complementary and alternative medicine and this concept. Now, this alternative and complementary medicine concept is being promoted in advanced countries also. For example, you can see the magazines, they are also slides दिखाई दे रही है?
No
तो
sir.
यस सर.
अच्छा, फिर उसके बाद जो है जो अगर हर्बल मेडिसिन को हम लोग मॉडर्न मेडिसिन में लेके आते हैं, तो देन वी ट्राई टू कंपेयर all these herbal medicines or the complementary and alternative medicine, and try to do some experimental work like in mainstream medicine or modern medicine. We use double blind placebo controlled trials, and where we use some. नहीं दिखाई दे रहा?
नो सर, स्लाइड नहीं दिखाई दे रही है.
अच्छा, एक सेकेंड. स्लाइड्स अब आई नजर?
नो सर.
यस सर, आ रही है.
Yes, sir. It
बीच
is
में गायब हो
visible.
जाता है. ओके, सो मैं ये कह रहा था कि modern medicine में there is a concept of trials, and after only the trials, drug came into existence, and the regulatory bodies allow the use of drugs after showing the result from the clinical trials, which is not so common in the traditional system of medicine. Then there is a concept of integrative medicine, and which is the new concept also, and it's very individualized, because in modern medicine only the disease oriented concept is there. It is not individualized. So in integrative medicine, we try to make it more and more individualized system of medicine. Then I would like to comment on the present scenario, especially like you are having this transitional curriculum, because Central Council of Indian Medicine has asked to have 1 month modules for the transitional curriculum. Similarly, Medical Council of India had asked all the medical colleges to have foundation course for 1 year to introduce the including the traditional and alternative medicine. So MBBS student MBBS student के जो first year के जो student हैं, they are also taught about the traditional and alternative medicine. So this integrative medicine, because patients are choosing integrative and alternative medicine, and but we all are trained with one system of medicine, like Unani medicines, physicians like, or Hakim, they are trained with the Unani system of medicine. So they are not integrating with other system of medicine. And there's a demand from the patients, demand from the students, that there should be an integrative medicine curriculum, and that's why all these concepts coming into existence. Although both modern practitioners and other traditional practitioners or the physicians, they are against this integrative medicine, but because of the patients and because of the students, such concepts are being monitored. So what is integrative medicine? So let's see what is integrative medicine. Integrative medicine combines the modern medicine with the complementary and alternative medicine, where there is an evidence of safety and effectiveness. And in this integrative medicine, we try to understand how we can integrate this with the modern medicine. So this is the definition of integrative medicine. Integrative medicine is the practice of medicine that reaffirms the importance of the relationship between practitioner and patient. So very important point is relationship between practitioners and patients में जो है इस practice को reaffirm करता है. Focuses on the whole person. So as I said, in the modern medicine, the concept is only on the disease, not all on the whole person. So this is based on evidence and make use of all appropriate therapeutic approaches to achieve optimal health and healing. So this is integrative medicine. So integrative medicine is healing oriented, not the disease oriented. So there is a paradigm shift from disease centered approach of conventional biomedicine to an approach in which patient values and participation of patients are important. So this is integrative medicine. So it emphasizes the therapeutic relationship and makes use of all appropriate therapies. So जो भी therapies मौजूद हैं, उनका therapeutic relationship, चाहे वो conventional medicine से belong करती हो, चाहे alternative medicine से belong करती हो, this is a part of integrative medicine. Lots of book you can see which came in the market. For example, this Donald Lowy, he showed in his book evidence-based, he reviewed each traditional and complementary medicine and modern medicine in this book. Another book which gives instructions on how to put complementary and alternative medicine into your own medical practices. Then in the last, I would like to say that most important point is whatever system of medicine we are following, there should be a dialogue with your patient. And the patient, because we should be more focused to the disease or the condition of the patient as a whole. So you can also ask your patients whom they are consulting, or especially complementary alternative medicine. and there should be a knowledge of all systems of medicine, and develop patient care team. You can consider all available options. So we should be very open-minded, while we should not be biased with any system of medicine. Every system of medicine has some advantage, and so we should be open-minded. So in the last, I would say that our concept should be caring with the patient or the attendant. We should be sympathetic, not only sympathetic, but also empathetic. So this is very important. Empathetic concept should be there, and compassionate, which is a part of ADCOM. So during the foundation course in MBBS first year, we have some modules for ADCOM, which is the attitude, ethics and communication. So communication is very important, because most of the time doctors, they are not well versed in communicating with their patients. So I think this is all about. If I have some question from the student, I'll be very happy to answer. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. A lot of thanks for introducing the modern medicine and their advances, right from development of germ theory and recent development like means of diagnosis, diagnostic tools, and various treatment procedures in modern medicine, whether it is from the drugs, whether surgical procedures. And soon after that, you have correlated the alternative medicine, Ayush. We say that the Unani with the modern, and the term you have used is like a complementary medicine, integrative medicine. You have explained it very well. And the least you focus on the pharmacovigilance for the herbs. It was a nice lecture for all of us. There was the ethos of lecture, the intersystematic approach, and the focus should be on the approach to deal with the patient, to listen the complaints of the patients, and to answer them with whatever the system we are following, without having any concern that we are blaming the other systems. It was a nice lecture for me also, and I think the students take it very well. Now I would like to ask Dr. Nakib if there is any question. So please you raise on behalf of the student. Sir is there to answer.
कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है अभी स्टूडेंट की तरफ से.
Okay, there is no question, sir. Sir, it was a pleasure to have you over here. And the next, I'd like to hand over it to the Dr. Nizam and Dr. Nafiz. VP sir is there. Tabriz sir is there.
नहीं है.
Okay, sir. On behalf of all the organizers, the college, principal sir, vice principal sir, I would like to thank you for this motivative lecture, and inshallah we will connect you again for further research purpose. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.